Hello, dear one, it's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast, and this is your weekly podcast, your card, your energy, your message for the week of August 23rd. I'm so happy to be here with you. I have to say I have such gratitude for the space, the sacred space that is this podcast, that is our time together with the tarot and with each other. My oldest is going off to college in like 2 days. The excuse my language, shit show that is my nervous system is wild. It is wild to experience this moment. And those of you who've been through it can recognize it. And if you haven't been through it, you can recognize these moments that life says to you, I am relentless. I will keep going. Life will keep happening. The momentum, the unfolding is ceaseless. And that is both terrifying and heartbreaking and difficult and just rocks our nervous system. Our poor nervous system is trying so hard to find stasis, to find stability, to find control, being able to manage what it's like to be here in this body, to the constant stimulus of being an alive creature in an alive world. It's also, so as much as it's like your body's like, please stop, please slow down the time. What is this life that I cannot get a handle on? Like just when I think I get it, it's changing on me. That is both terrifying and overwhelming. And here's the beautiful part though. It's also an invitation to pay attention. It's an invitation to open your hands, to soften your grip, to worry less. It's an invitation to just be here because there is this momentum, this unfolding, this becoming that you are, that other people you love are, that the world is. And as much as there's a part of us that's like, please slow down, let me just stay here, there's also a part of us that knows that's like against nature. That's not what we're here to do. So when you have these moments where your nervous system, like mine, is kind of fritzing out and you can feel the changes happening, it's this beautiful, like clear-eyed invitation into, then be here now. Like just be here now. That's all there is. There is here and there is here and there is here and there is here. And however you are here is right on time. However you are here is okay. There's just this unlocking, this like unleashing that happens when you realize that this is it. Like this is it. And there's no controlling it and there's no managing it. There's finding alignment within it. There's finding flow through it. There's finding the ability to dance in it, in the unfolding. It's not easy, dude. Like it's not easy when we have these very real aches, these very real confusions, these very real changes, these transitions that leave us feeling so many things. I could go on and on about the layers. Like I'm tracking very carefully what's happening for me. I've seen friends go through this. You'd be surprised at how many people first come to me when their children leave home, women in particular. It's a huge transitional moment, a huge recalibration. And I understand that, but living it is another story, and tracking myself through it really with a lot of compassion and patience, and still being like, what the fuck? This is a really interesting recalibration transition. And I'm trying to remind myself how beautiful it is to be present to it, how precious it is, all of it, the most uncomfortable parts of it, the most beautiful, sublime parts of it, like to be present with it. That's what we're working towards. And I say I'm so grateful to be here with you now because I can feel that on one level when I'm out in the world packing her up and organizing things and sending emails. But I really need to create sacred space to feel it, beauty of it, to feel the invitation of it as clearly as I do when I sit here and record the podcast. And the minute I sat down, I was like, right, it's all okay. It's all perfectly on time. I am right where I'm meant to be. And that is such a blessing. So I thank you for giving me the invitation to record this podcast, giving me the invitation to be present with the cards, to create this sacred space in the midst of my busy life, because it's a constant gift. It's just a gift that flows back into me. And I really do pray and hope that it flows back out into your life as well. The card I pulled for us, because tarot is right on time and tarot never lets me down, never lets us down, is the Seven of Pentacles. Pentacles, earth energy. Sevens, mystery, transformation, alchemy. You feel that, right? Can you feel that? Like the seven, the transformation, the liminal space, the waiting around earth energy. And I was listening to, I think it was Chani Nichols, she's an astrologer, and she was talking about, they did it like 5 of the major planets are in mutable signs right now. And the language she was using was like, we're not here nor there, we're on the journey. We're not here nor there, we're in between. That is the energy of the 7 of Pentacles as well. The 7 of Pentacles is the card of gestation. It's the card of waiting for the harvest. It's the card of ripening on the vine. I've talked about this before, but I'll just kind of say it really clearly. The energies that come with the 7 of Pentacles are the idea of a pregnant woman, right? She's looks like quiet, she looks like calm, and inside her life is being created. Inside her, a human is ripening into form, and you can't rush that process. It takes the time it takes. And on the other side of it, you say, of course of course I wanted to wait for this, of course this was worth the wait. But when you're in it, sometimes it can be like, I will always be pregnant. I will never not be making this child. And on the other side of it, you're like, oh, that was just a moment. But when you're in it, it can feel like, oh, this impatience or this confusion around dissonance between the quiet and the silence, and at the same time, the riot of creativity that's happening. The other great analogy for the 7 of Pentacles is a melon or a berry ripening on the vine, right? You pick it too soon and you have a bitter, sour thing in your hand, a useless, lifeless thing in your hand, and you wait for it to be ripe. And what is more beautiful than a summer fruit? What is more beautiful than a melon bursting with sweetness? Like, what's more refreshing? What's more delicious? It's like the kind of thing you think about at the end of your day is like, oh, I was lucky to have a beautiful raspberry. I was lucky to taste a cantaloupe fully ripened, right? That's like the sweetness of that is incomparable. And so that's the energy the 7 of Pentacles is bringing into our lives. It's saying to us, there are things worth waiting for. It's okay for things not to be ready immediately. And we live in a world, right, dude, where like we expect things to be ready immediately. We live in a world where we go to the supermarket, those of us in America, we go to the supermarket and we have all the fruits all the time. Like the whole idea of seasonality is something that we've really lost. We've lost it in the way we eat. We've lost it in the way that we live. And there's something about, in August, the heat of summer, it is asking us to slow down. It is asking us to sit and ripen. September, the harvest time, the Virgo season, it is asking us, as we lead up to it, it's asking us to kind of sit in, soak in this moment, soak in the sunshine, the same way the melon would, right? The same way the berry would, like allow the sunshine to kind of leach into your body and warm you deeply, deeply and bring sweetness there. So we've lost a lot of that seasonality in our lives. We kind of have this on-demand culture, and I'm not really interested in debating whether that's right or wrong. It's partially just kind of the moment we're in, and we'll see where we go. We'll see what we evolve into. The 7 of Pentacles is in direct opposition to that culture, though. The 7 of Pentacles is things are in transition, be patient. Things are in transition and they are worth waiting for. That's really an important message of the 7 of Pentacles. Do not rush the process. Do not pluck the melon before it's ready. Don't ask the woman who's pregnant to give birth before she's ready. Let the sweetness, let the gestation, let the ripening happen. The 7 of Pentacles, again, because it's earth energy and because it's the 7, you just can't necessarily see what's happening. So I want you to also think about the melon. I want you to think about the pregnant woman. Like, you view them from the outside and it looks like stillness. It looks like quiet. And what's happening again is that riot of activity. There's incredible ripening, sweetening, developing, growing, evolving happening beneath the surface. And so I want you to feel that analogy as it relates to the world outside of you, the material world. I also want you to really feel that as it relates to you. Like your body, your nervous system, your emotions, your way of being in the world is undergoing a profound recalibration. And we can't expect ourselves to arrive without the journey. Like you listen to Esther Hicks. Is it Esther Hicks? I love them. I listen when I'm like stressed. I listen to them because there's something about her cadence and her humor that just like really elevates my energy. But she says all the time, like Esther and Jerry, I think are the people, right? She's like, Esther and Jerry are on their way to Phoenix. They don't stop 10 minutes outside of Dallas and say, like, we're doing it all wrong because we're not in Phoenix yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, they get that there's 300 miles under their feet. They get that this is going to take the time it takes. There's something about that energy too. Go easy on yourself, man. Like, we really expect ourselves to also move in this on-demand way. We expect ourselves to calibrate immediately. We expect ourselves to integrate immediately. And this brings me back to something I've told you that Maureen says. When you're doing work, when you're creating sacred space, when you're making ritual, when you're making ceremony, when you're journaling, when you're processing, when you're working with your shadow, do the work. And then take the time for the work to work you. Take the time for the work to have its way. Take the time to allow the work to kind of siphon through your system and make the changes, make the ripening, make the evolution that is called for with that shift, with that change. So the Seven of Pentacles is a reminder that things don't happen instantaneously. Like, I wonder, actually, I was just going to say some things do, but even like what would be the most instantaneous thing you could think of? Like lightning, it might be an instantaneous moment, but what had to build in the atmosphere for that to be possible? What had to gestate in the atmosphere for that instant moment to occur? There's something about this idea of let it gestate, let it take the time it's taking, and particularly let yourself take the time you need to take. You don't need to necessarily see the outcome to trust the outcome. You don't need to see the transformation to know that it's happening. I guess I ask you this question: will you trust yourself to know when the transformation is complete? Like, will you trust yourself to know when it's time to get up, be birthed, moved out, strike? Like, will you trust yourself? And there's something about you'll know when you know, but for now, just be easy. Go easy on yourself. The other thing I want to mention to you about the Seven of Pentacles. This is a card obviously I know very well. I actually do love this card. In the beginning, this card drove me crazy because patience is not my middle name, and it used to make me very agitated. Like, I would look at this card and be like, come on, dude, like, let's get on with it. I want the action. I want the excitement. I want the lightning. I don't want to wait for the storm to build. I don't want to wait for the melon to ripen. I want to eat the juicy thing now. That's my own, probably all of us can identify with that a little bit, but that's my own impatience with things, with life. My idea that I was trying to arrive somewhere. I heard this guy on TikTok the other day, and he was like, when you're hurrying, there's no space for love, right? There's fear. That movement, that rushing is aligned with fear. He's like, in the space of love, there's just no rush. And you know that, like, you can feel that in your body. And he also said, like, where he uses analogies, like, you're in the car, you can go left, you can right, you go forward, you go back. He's like, but in 80 years, 120 years, your DNA is going to be complete. He's like, and this is what you've done. You've just come here to experience this. And so can you slow it down? And the great paradox is that often when we slow down, when we breathe, when we're present, when we're in harmony, when we take our time, we get so much more done. Like, we move faster. When I first studied hypnosis, and one of the things that I really came up against was this push, this desire to get somewhere. And the sloth, which is one of my spirit animals, came to me, and he took my hand and he brought me onto this raft in a river. And then we sat there, and then the river was so fast. And he showed me this idea that I could be totally at ease, like totally relaxed on sloth time, and get so much distance under my feet. And that is the energy of the Seven of Pentacles. Don't rush this moment because you just don't know where it's taking you to. You just don't know what else is ripening. I talked a few minutes ago about, allowing yourself to ripen, but baby, like, there's situations ripening, there are people ripening, there are other things ripening that want to meet you, and you can't rush it. Like, you can't rush the dance. The other thing I want to say about the Seven of Pentacles, again, like, I know this card very well. As I just mentioned, it used to drive me crazy. It's a card I've come to love because it's permission to get curious, to wonder. And in this energy of the month that we're in, where strength and the tower are so activated, so highlighted, you really don't want to rush things. It really does not serve you to push anything. And maybe you've had that experience this week or this month where you've tried to have a conversation too soon, or you've tried to make a decision too soon, and you wish you hadn't. Like, you wished you hadn't pushed it. There's something about the Seven of Pentacles, like, let yourself take the time, but let other people take the time. Like, trust the moments that are meant to happen are going to arrive in front of you. This whole idea of, like, what is the next right thing? So, okay, so the last thing I want to say about the Seven of Pentacles is that in this card, it's like kind of like a farmer guy. It looks like he's got a hoe in front of him, and he's looking at this bush. It looks like a grapevine, and all the pentacles are the different grapes on the vine. And he's kind of has his hands folded, and he's looking at the grapes. Like he's kind of wondering what's happening, maybe even like watching the pot boil kind of vibe. And he always seems, I don't know, I've never really looked at his proportions. I really noticed how out of proportion he is. And the best way I can say it is that it looks like his clothes are wet almost. Like, you know that feeling of like if you had a big sweatshirt on or a big sweater on and it got wet, and you know when your clothes, like wet clothes, hang on you and how heavy they feel? I'm really getting that vibe from him. So there's just this sense of like, what are you wearing that's too heavy? Like, what are you wearing that doesn't fit or isn't proper right now? And I mean that metaphorically, right? So maybe you have a wet sweatshirt on, but what I mean is, what are you carrying that's not really yours to carry? And there's an invitation right now to wear your own skin more lightly, wear your own maybe labels, roles, masks more lightly. So just notice as you hear me saying this, what comes to mind when you think this thing, I'm carrying it too heavily? Like, is it a role? Is it an idea? Is it a job or a position or an idea of who you're supposed to be? Maybe it's an external filter that you're being asked to wear. There's something about it that feels too heavy. It doesn't fit you. It's weighing you down. And again, because this is 7 of Pentacles, we're really talking about earth energy, material, the material plane. And you know, if we've been here together like these past few months, there's really something shifting on the material. And because the material is concrete, because we can reach out and touch it, we sometimes underestimate the amount of change that's actually occurring, the amount of evolution, of ripening, of transition that's actually occurring. That's the beauty of alchemy, right? Just to have a sense of this week, it might come up that you are wearing something that doesn't fit you anymore. And I don't ask you to like take it off if you don't feel ready to take it off. So think about this wet sweater analogy or this wet sweatshirt analogy. If you stand there long enough, it's going to get so wet and heavy that it's going to kind of just like slip off your shoulders. It's not sustainable, and it has its own, again, momentum. Like, it's just getting really heavy and it's going to come off when it's ready. Literally, like, I'm talking about ripening, the way like a fruit can literally like push out of its skin. Definitely that. It's interesting, that's coming through so strongly. You are going to burst free from some cloak you've been asked to wear, some skin you've been asked to inhabit, and you're going to feel the world in a different way. And you don't have to do that. Like, you really don't have to do anything. You just have to be patient with it. You just have to be patient with it. And that's like really the key thing. Trust your ripening, trust your evolution, trust your transition. So what does this mean about the week ahead? All of this me talking and all of this talk about patience and transition. It means that something is ripening, something is getting ready to be born, and you're just in the moment before. You're just not at the birth. You're just not at the feast. You're waiting for things to be ready. When you're cooking something, you know, all the ingredients go in, they look one way, and they come out and they're transformed, but the time in the oven matters. There's something about letting things get cooked, get ripened, evolve, transition, and you just stay still, my pretty. Like, you just be patient, be kind to yourself, allow the fact that there's more than meets the eye to a situation. And like I've said to you these past few weeks, you're allowed to react to the way the situation feels. You don't need to react to the way it's presenting itself. You're allowed to trust your instincts about what's really going on. And there's something about this idea of just be patient. Things are in transition, things are ripening, and you'll know when they're ready. It feels really clear. Like, not only will you know they're ready, it's like that heavy sweater, you won't be able to step forward with it on. It will have to melt away for you to take the next step forward. Okay, I send you so much love. Sit with this card, spend some time with it. Let me know what you think of it. I'd love to know what your impression, like whether you look at this card and you're like, okay, I can take a break, or you look at this card and you're like, oh fuck, why are we still waiting for this grape to be ready? I'd love to hear what you think about it. Tarot Mystery School, my class, it's going to be such a great experience. The people who have signed up are such amazing women, and I'm so excited to be in space with you all. And just like I said at the beginning of this podcast, it really behooves us to create that sacred space in our lives, to create those windows of time where we can dive into another way of being, to refresh ourselves for the pace and the relentlessness of life. And again, like, not necessarily a bad thing, constant invitation to be present, but sometimes it's tiring. And there's something about creating the space to dive underneath it that is incredibly restorative. And this class is going to be 7 weeks. We're going to use a lot of other modalities. We're going to really uncover that secret transmission of the tarot that really wants you to be more empowered, more liberated, more alive while you're here. So I hope you'll come join us in that. And otherwise, I just send you a lot of love at the end of the summer, a lot of patience and compassion for whatever transition you find yourself in. And just go easy on yourself. Like, go easy on yourself. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, right? There's just this unfolding happening, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's just an ability to be more deeply present with it. And that's where the beauty is. That's where the good stuff is. The sense of, I'm just here. I'm so lucky to be here. The good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I get to experience it, and I won't be here forever. So how fully alive can I be while I'm here? I send you so much love and a big hug, and happy August. Bye.